Thank you so much for joining me for another demo. We have a narrative game called A Line Held Tight. So there's going to be a lot of reading from me. I have to admit this isn't a blind playthrough. I did play through this, but something went wrong with the recording. There's going to be drawings that appear as I'm reading, and for whatever reason, the recorder wouldn't pick those up. So I have a different process of recording right at the moment for this game in particular. Let's see. Play at your own pace. Your decisions shape who you are. Some choices have to be made on instinct. Act 1, Chapter 1. Brightworld Mine, 1800 hours. Systems booting. Pressurizing. Loading. Complete. Please confirm PIN. Welcome, Operator Canary. The machine whirs to life around you. The noises are as familiar as your own breathing, your own heartbeat. Wait, this is a mining, and we are Operator Canary. If you're not familiar in old mines, especially coal mines, they used to bring a canary with them in a little cage. And if the canary stopped singing or collapsed or was found unconscious in its little cage, they knew that something was wrong. So the canary was the first sign of something wrong. So us being Operator Canary is not a good sign, guys. Anyway. The machine whirs to life around you. The noises are as familiar as your own breathing, your own heartbeat. Your mech, your rig. Well, it will be once you paid it off. Until then, it's still technically property of Brightworld. But it feels like yours. You spend more time here than your own room in your own bed. Brightworld named this limited run of specialized rigs Theseus, but most of your colleagues think the name is too fancy, and they call it after you instead, Canary. Outside the mine, way up above you and outside of the dock's protective bubble, the surface is cold enough to instantly freeze the blood in your veins. But here, in these deep tunnels, your suit keeps you warm, and the seat of the cab cradles you gently. The workday has begun, and you're on the clock. There's still the usual boot-up maintenance routine to go through. That's the hydraulics. You changed the oil in the hydraulics just last week. A messy job, but you've never been squeamish about it, despite what some of the other workers think. And besides, it's necessary. If the hydraulics don't work, then the rig won't move the way you want, no matter how much power you have coming from the engine. You notice the filter light come on. Something to look at later. Making sure that everything is neutral, you rev the engine and look at the dial on the dashboard. It remains still. You tap the dial with your finger and the needle jumps in fright, but then settles back to where it was. The thing is always playing up. You tap the dial with your knuckle this time, hard. The plastic cover buckles at an odd angle on the side where you tapped it, making the dial harder to read. The needle, however, is now moving and sits in the middle of its range. A good readout. The engines are fine. The dial itself is just a bit broken now. Your rig isn't the strongest, but it doesn't need to be. It's nimble, lithe. You can run circles around almost any other rig on this entire moon, you think, especially if you keep on taking care of it. And don't whack it too hard next time. On my first gameplay, I did do the gentle tap, and of course it didn't break, and the needle jumped to where it was supposed to be. So the rest of the dialogue was the same, other than the broken dial. Observe readout displays. Digital holo displays light up the cab, giving you all kinds of information about what's around you. Some of it is even useful. The digital components of the rigs are the cheapest to produce, and manufacturers tend to load up on them to raise the price point of their rigs. High beams. The walk roll in front of you explodes into bright relief as your high beams illuminate it, causing you to wince a little. You turn the high beams off, but leave the main lights on. For the next 5 minutes, you see bright spots every time you blink. That's plenty. Move on. You turn your mind to the task at hand. You need to find a new ore vein today. The yield of the others being worked by your colleagues is getting lower, and the pay with it. You're the one who finds the veins, lucky canary. You like the name. You do feel lucky. You found more veins than anyone else that has done your job before you. Your fellow workers seem to bemoan your good luck rather than appreciate it, though. Or rather, they bemoan their own comparative bad luck, which they all seem to share equally. Veins of ore run deep into the small celestial body you now inhabit, sniffed out by drones sent by Brightworld generations ago. Once the ore was discovered here, so far from anything else, miners of the time packed themselves tight into vessels crossing space to extract it. Sleeping frozen sardines heralded as great adventurers. Eventually, the thrusters were halted and crew woken up from deep sleep, orbits synced, and the vessels finally landed on their destination, a Trojan named Antiope. The work was hard and the hours were long. The problems and mistakes kept on piling up, and out here, most mistakes and most problems were deadly. The miners weren't scientists. Scientists were there, of course, to supervise, but most were still engaged with the building of the orbital colony in the same system, Brightside. This was the orbital colony that was meant to be finished by the time the miners arrived, ready to house their families who followed in sardine-tinned ships of their own. The colony was instead finished by the time the first haulage ship arrived to transport ore back out of the Cooper Belt. By this time, 86 deaths had already been recorded on Antiope, almost a tenth of the workforce. Any names incorrectly said, 100% my fault, I'm sorry. The families of these dead miners were offered incentives to stay on the colony and were not offered a free return trip. Most elected to stay. And now, you and your rig crawl through tunnels on the Trojan below, trying to find veins of money for yourself and your own family back on the colony. You snake through labyrinth tunnels for hours. Readings show promising signals, bright blips of greater density, but all turn out to be dead ends and fade out as soon as you get close, taunting you. Days like this happen often. When you first started working down here at 16, a run of fruitless signals like today would send you into a spiral of rage or melancholy. Now, 6 years later, you have better handle on those reactions. Luck, skill, your work getting to know the tunnels, even just time. And why doesn't matter, but you're not just better at handling it now. You're better at finding them. You swing the rig around, log yourself as routing rather than actively working, and head back the way you came. Somewhere up in the colony, another Brightworld employee is sitting in an office and tracking rig routes and usage, Theseus included. It is company property, after all, for now. You resent the surveillance, of course you do, especially since you're not allowed to track tunnels yourself or choose your own routes. You're forced to follow the guide and paths given. You often wondered why those restrictions are in place, what they don't want you to find. Many workers have tried to find the trackers and pry them out over the years, but none have succeeded. Folded in your pocket and under the mattress in your room are pieces of paper covered in pencil webs of your own doing, maps you're not allowed to make of places it's frowned upon to go. The piece of paper in your pocket stays tucked there throughout this shift, though. Not today. You keep this hobby quiet, secret. Keep it something that no one can take from you. You park Theseus back in its designated place in the hangar and rush through your last half hour of the day. Paid maintenance, just enough to keep the rig functioning at acceptable levels. Most miners perform an occasional full maintenance out of hours, though. Rigs are a point of pride. To have no pride in your rig down here is to have not much pride at all. Once the maintenance done, it's back to the locker room. You strip your boiler suit off, revealing a sweat-stained t-shirt, and hang your unused helmet on its hook. Theseus has a closed cab, so it's not mandatory to wear it so long as you remain in a rig. It is, however, mandatory to bring it. Carbon dioxide, monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide all swirl in the very lowest reaches of the mine that you alone explore, waiting there for you, unseen and lethal, were you ever to leave the safety of Theseus without a mask. The other first shift workers whirling around you are finishing up for the day. Most are already showered and dressed. You wonder if you're running late. Pup. You're running late! A familiar face fills your vision. Personal space is not a strong suit. The pup is your best and some would say only friend. You grew up together, being some of the few children on the colony who were the same age, tied together from birth. The pup is a gangly but handsome young man, slim and tall, with the muscle needed for hard work running along each limb. His hair falls into his eyes, often, and his scruffy beard and mustache don't manage to add any gravitas to his delicate, boyish face. Typical canary. It's like you've forgotten you've got somewhere to be. Oh no? The pup grabs your shoulders to give you a light shake. Canary, it's the union meeting tonight. It's the big vote tonight. It's important. You wonder how you forgot, whether you wanted to forget. Either way, it's worrying. Lately, you've been withdrawing into yourself more and more. It's like you can sense something deep in the earth pulsing with malignant rhythms, ready to crack the mantle and change everything, ready to throw off the little bit of balance that's letting you get by here. Actually, I'm a bit angry at you for forgetting. Really. This move could really strengthen the Union, Canary. If we don't welcome change, things will stagnate. We'll all fossilize. He gives your shoulders a light squeeze before he lets go. We have to look out for each other. This is a big decision for all of us. So don't be a twat. He rushes off, leaving you feeling much like when you came in. Cold, dirty, and sad. The meeting is soon, but you've still caked in grime from a day's work. Wash up first. Something creeps into your brain at the thought of leaving without washing. An electrical storm that short-circuits everything it touches. You need to clean yourself before it short-circuits something important. You need to be able to think for the meeting. The shower room is steamed up from the volume of workers that have just used the facilities themselves. Very few are left now, though. A few last workers are lacing clean boots, and an odd snap of a towel signals people drying off in cubicles. Everyone's movements are hurried. I want to shower and dry. The heat of the water shocks your cold skin into itching chilblains. And the rough textured soap dispensed from the goopy nozzles makes you feel raw. You had a bathtub once, as a child. You always promised yourself that as soon as you put in some holiday time to go colony side, that it would be your #1 priority. Find a bathtub and soak. But you never did, and nostalgia wasn't that strong. You don't even remember if you actually enjoyed baths. And you worried that the journey might make you sad. It might make you remember your mother, and when you last accrued enough holiday hours to go up to Brightside, a long time ago. You didn't want that. Maybe still don't. Put on clothes. Your locker has some crude graffiti on it. The most faded was from before it was yours, and therefore completely nonsensical and non-applicable. The most recent was done by the pup. He says it was a mark of an immature mind, and that he's grown as a man since then, and he finds such things passé now. You still see him chuckle when he looks at it, though. Okay, so is this our locker? And I'm trying to see whatever it is. Like, I thought maybe it was like a cartoon dick, but I'm not seeing a cartoon dick. Unless I turn my head. No, still don't see it. Alright, let's continue. You pull on the fresh clothes waiting in the locker, and they settle gratefully onto your warm, clean body. Alright, that's enough. Move on. You're fresh, you're revived, you're reborn into a world of soft skin and soap smells. You're also rather late for the meeting. The tunnel from the washroom to the meeting hall is long. The conveyors that people use to get around the mine shafts on foot quickly end as soon as you enter the communal areas. Or, to put it another way, they stop as soon as you clock out. The communal areas are intended to be separate from the main mind, a clear division of work and rest. This is what the brain needs and what the worker needs. The reality is that the communal areas are a quicker route from the main chamber in the loading bay to the main drag and the rest of the smaller mine shafts. So why go the long way around? Rigs traveling through on shift changes is uncommon, though. It works out well enough. No one has gotten accidentally crushed yet. A real rig operator, a good rig operator, would never be careless enough to hurt anyone with the rig anyway. If they did, they weren't a real rig operator. Therefore, no rig operators ever hurt anyone. Ceiling. Lights hang at intervals of exactly 6 yards. They hang at intervals of exactly 6 yards because the beams that they hang from are placed exactly 6 yards apart. Those beams are placed exactly 6 yards apart to stop tons and tons of rock from falling on top of your head, or blocking you in a tunnel to suffocate. Netting hangs between the beams. It looks ineffectual, but it actually does an important job. The same has been said about you. The floor. You look down at the dents made by thousands of feet and the large welts made by machines traveling through. You can identify the tracks like a hunter stalking prey. Hear the heavy, deep tread of one of the many Kaja E3653 rigs, or pit ponies carrying ore. Shallower tracks show their journey back after the heavy burden of cargo has been released. There, three-toed prints on the mud like gigantic dinosaurs past inhabitants that were never here are the evidence of the utilitarian rigs. Cheap and boxy things used by anyone for odd jobs and generic work. Your own rig prints aren't here. You travel in the deep tunnels only. There's no reason for your rig to travel up to the main chamber aside from the special occasions. You're a unique creature suited to the depths. Look at the walls. The walls are cliffs of hewn, blasted, and sheared rock that, in closer inspection, teem with life. Bits of lichen and gelatinous slime molds cling to the crevices. Ugh. They weren't here before humans arrived. There was no life on this Trojan when it was surveyed, not even the tiniest organism. They formed from people? Some kind of part of humans, some bacterial life that makes up what could be conceived as consciousness, found a new life in the rock, found a new way of being. Okay, let's maybe look where we're going. And thud. The mole. Ugh! You both lie dazed on the floor of the intersection. I'm so sorry, He looks up and locks eyes with you. His expression changes from contrite to angry. The mole is a short, barrel-shaped man in his late 30s. He might be handsome, if not for the pinched and pained look he constantly wears. He operates the Bolshkova LX206 tunnel boring machine. He glowers at you from behind round glasses that seem to rest within rather than upon his face. Oh, Canary, it's you. Of course it's you. Why the hell don't you watch where you're going? He huffs as he levers himself up on his elbow. Papers have fallen from his arms on collision and now lie strewn about the tunnels. Needed to check if it was someone smaller than you before you started yelling at them. The mole's face goes from its deep usual blush pink to a deeper burgundy. I don't know what you're talking about. He sets about gathering the papers on the floor, trying to appear aloof. The mole shuffles around, picking up the papers one by one and trying to get them back into their original order. His natural slight hunch, exasperated here by his snuffling around on the floor, makes him look shorter than he is. His entire person, in fact, feels like an effort to be taken as someone he isn't. He's not yet noticed that his neat trim beard and soft, fibrous jumper are both smeared with dust and chaff. Would you like some help? No. Pick up some of the papers. The mole snatches the paper out of your hand with lightning reflexes that you didn't know he possessed. What did I just say? I don't need your help. Leave me be. Don't you have a meeting to get to? Chop, chop. Go on. Wait. Why aren't you at the... wait. What are these papers anyway? Well, that's none of your business. Come on, just tell me. No. It's company business you wouldn't understand anyway. Don't worry yourself about the mechanics of this, of how this actually all works. That's the realm of men like myself and your father. You just focus on your own little tasks. Well, wait. Why aren't you at the meeting? Mole straightens up, papers finally gathered. Because I had important errands to take care of for the union. I'm not passively at the meeting because I'm actively making things happen. Or trying to, despite your efforts to waylay me. Which I'm not going to entertain any longer. The mole strides away at a clip, without a goodbye. He quickly disappears down the tunnel. You wait a while before following, despite how fantastically late it's going to make you. The meeting is to be held in the meeting hall. It would really be impossible to hold it anywhere else when there exists a designated meeting hall. You crack open one of the large double doors and sneak through. The hinges squeal as you do. Inside you can hear a pin drop. Every face turns towards you, like something out of a nightmare. You could swear that, in fact, it is a perfect recreation of a nightmare you had recently. You're tempted to pinch yourself, but the pain in your stomach already tells you that it's real. This is real. Most people turn away fast to look back at the men on stage. The men who you have very obviously just interrupted. You slink inside with head down and murmured apologies. On stage, one man stands at a microphone, with another older man standing behind him. The figure in the back looks at you and gives you a thin smile. The pony is the current union chairman, with the term due to end next year. He was elected as a peaceful man for peaceful times. But times are changing now. He's been working in the mine in his pit pony for longer than you've been alive. The figure at the microphone looks at you and takes a few deep breaths. On some others would come across as psyching themselves up, but not on this man. He's obviously trying his best to control his temper, trying his best not to leap from the stage and eviscerate you with his bare hands. Up on stage is the gorilla. He's large, more so in presence than actual size. Shorter than the pony by half a foot, his broad-barreled chest makes him seem twice as wide. Above wiry mutton chops, as his eyebrows hold a permanent angry V. Above them is a heavily lined forehead, which is in turn below a severe widow's peak. He operates the Baranov Mk3 B2500, a tunnel support rig built to drive steel rods deep into solid rock. His voice booms as he talks, deep and rough. The others have had their say, as is fair, but now it's time for mine. He gestures for the pony to sit back down into the row of hard plastic chairs he just stood from. The old man acquiesces, though whether gratefully or resentfully, you can't tell. Our chairman has presented a decent case. I applaud him for that. But you know my opinions, and you know that they differ. When I was elected vice president of this union by over 70% of the votes, I was elected on a program of power. Power and autonomy. The right to an honest day's work and an honest day's pay. That's what I campaigned on. That's what you voted for. But if you vote to pass this proposition today, that's exactly what will be taken from you. Your power and your autonomy. We'll get dragged into the struggles that aren't ours for the sake of people that have never had our backs. Our right to work will be compromised by our own doing. I say we should reject these calls for false unity. Think instead on your families waiting at home, relying on you to step up and provide. It's as simple as that. So let's vote a show of hands. On stage, the pony rises to protest. All those who wish to reject the proposed union merger, raise your hands now. Look around, let's see, keep it down. Many hands rise immediately, most are kept down or waver. Some hands curl up and then wilt again until they're limp at their owner's side. A murmur starts up among the crowd. Your hand stays down by your side. The gorilla looks over the crowd to you, and you see an expression intimately familiar to you now after so many years. Your father is disappointed in you. The pony slips the microphone from the gorilla's hand and talks close into it, making the PA system squeal. We will not be taking a show of hands. We will be doing an anonymous vote, as previously discussed. He shoots a look to the gorilla on the last line. He doesn't sound angry, but his words are firm and final. The crowd, still unsettled, is ushered towards the voting setup. 3 handheld tablets with anti-peak screens record a vote at a tap. You take place in the line. The queue moves quickly, but there's 100 miners here, and you're at the very back. The hall is abuzz with the conversation about the merger, what it is, what it means, and what it could mean. Listen to the people in front of us. In front of you, the goose and the otter huddle together talking. They're relative strangers, both work at a different shift than you. You've seen the goose propping up the bar some nights, though, talking the ear off anyone unfortunate enough to get near him. It's not right. It's not right. Come on, mate. It's not going to pass. Don't be so sure. They're probably got spies infiltrating our ranks. Oh, that's a bit far, isn't it? Nah, I don't know about that. How many rigor more members are there? Thousands. You've heard the pony going on about how powerful they are. Be a cinch for them. A cinch. The otter shakes his head. Yeah, well, that's true, but that's the problem, right? They're too big. This merger passes, we're gonna get fuck all from them because all they care about is couriers and that. And like processing plant workers. Not us. Our membership fees are gonna go up to some bleeding heart in an office somewhere, and they're going to give it all to people who barely even work at all. Is anyone tracking all the membership fees? Why keep it a secret, eh? Makes you wonder where it's all going, doesn't it? I think there might be a revenue breakdown on the comm site, actually. Oh, I wouldn't trust that. Don't trust what they say. The line shifts forward, and the 2 of them step out of reach of your hearing. Listen to the people beside us. Besides you is the sparrow, the mule, the boar, are chatting. Of course they've been doing great work. That's so. Over on General Tortoise, they... Oh, damn, those boys have some fight in them. Posting up outside an embassy like that. What I wouldn't given to see the faces of them in the offices when they see 'em all roll up. Maybe we need some more of that here. Well, I wonder if... You're damn right we stop asking. And start telling. Listen to the people lingering nearby who have already voted. The ram and the shrew are hanging about, throwing glances to the bar and waiting for the shutters to rise. It's a damn shame that we have to lose our union to be in this one. I don't get why we couldn't keep as we are and just sort of become a branch or something. Hey, no way to keep our name, keep our identity, keep our fight. I don't like how progress looks sometimes. Everything's too big nowadays. That's the union, our union. Can't stand on its own 2 feet. Damn shame. Yup, a damn shame. A damn shame. Soon enough, it's your turn. A burly woman hands you a tablet. For the merger? Against the merger. Or abstain. Them's your choices. She flashes you a wide grin. Choose wisely, Canary. On screen, the choices wait for you. Anonymous this time. We're gonna say against. First time through, I said for. I want to know if it changes anything. Against the merger. After you voted, there's still a small grace period while the data is tallied and checked. The pony and the gorilla talk on the stage, backs to the crowd, huddled. You spot the mole on the stage, dragging another chair up so he can join the union heads there. You think that maybe part of the reason it takes so long is to digitally tally the votes is just to build tension. Finally, the bear steps on stage to hand Pony a printout. He shushes the crowd, but there's no need. Everyone was already silent. The pony unfurls the paper and studies it for a while, and then starts reading. The outcome of the ballot, winning with a 74% majority, is 4. It didn't change anything. It didn't even change the percentage. It was 74 when I said yes. Act 2, Chapter 7. We had a bit of a jump there. 6 months later. Soon after the union merger, representatives from Riggers Moor arrive. Representatives, the badger, and the hare make friends and enemies alike. Soon enough, a vote to strike passes, and the war of attrition begins. At the picket line, the miners wonder why it's so quiet. The company doesn't show their hand. The badger and the hare become tense, wondering why, till the canary and the pup stumble upon a revealing secret. As the union leaders scramble to put a plan of action together and try to hail their flying pickets for backup, the gorilla, becoming bored and frustrated with the lack of action, decides to bring a fight to the scabs. Storyline started, a line held tight. Something's wrong. The pup gives a short, strangled laugh. No one else replies. Ahead, the walls of the tunnel quickly narrow, a threshold transitioning from the polished concrete of the main chamber to a textured shotcrete of living quarters and service tunnels. You all wordlessly move in closer together, keeping your formation. Just as you pass the threshold, the noise finally reaches you. The noise of unknown thrumming engines and hydraulic pistons. Up ahead, the gorilla in his rig and a pit pony laden with miners stand in front of metal and concrete barricades. Behind the barricades, the scabs, more than you remember there being, a representative stands on a makeshift platform in the middle of the mall, holding a megaphone. This act of aggression will not be tolerated, and the pup's plaintive cry rings out of his rig's own, more powerful loudspeaker and cuts the representative off. Gorilla! Gorilla? Ah, pup, I wondered where you were. The gorilla turns his rig around to observe the pup, then you, and the rest of your group. Late to the meetings, late to the fight, you'll be late for your own bloody funeral. At least you brought some reinforcements. You can hear the thin string of tension in his voice that he's trying to hide. The miners in the pit pony cheer, though. He turns back to the barricade, his rig large, the air above it wavering in the heat from his exhaust vents. And then from the shadows behind the scabs, they emerge. A kind of rig that you've never seen before. They're small and sleek, but there are lots of them. Each operator behind the dark glass windscreens is in uniform. Molded white paneling on the rigs reflects light and drips as they move. The legs are painted in black anti-rust covering, making them look like floating ghosts. On every other arm, a gun. They're security rigs, muscle, not built for labor, but for suppression. What is this? You can see the smile form on the representative's face, even from where you are. You can feel the triumph and malice radiate from him. How the hell did we get flanked? Suddenly, a miner in the pit pony turns and points. As one, you all swivel to look behind you, to where 3 more security rigs are closing in from the main chamber. From the tunnel you just walked out, and as they enter the narrower portion, they space themselves out, blocking any escape. You are under arrest for the theft of company property, for the intimidation of workers. We need to move now. Hare! The Hare's utilitarian rig is already in motion before the Badger has finished saying their name. They sweep around and squat the legs of their rig down as deep as the pistons will go. Then they rev up the torque and release. They barrel towards the security rigs at the threshold behind you, with a sudden burst of speed, slamming into one bodily, causing it to fall back into the other, and the third one to stagger out of the way. With the security rigs scattered, there's enough of a gap to lead back to the main chamber, to safety. Run! Now is our chance! No! Stay and fight! I can't hold them off for long. The pit pony containing the miner starts a painfully slow turn away from the barricade. Too slow, go backwards. Following the Badger's instructions, it starts to reverse instead, but a few miners jump out and try to run on foot. Don't leave the rig! They have guns! The security rigs lining the tunnel behind the strike breakers have all raised one limb, a thin arm ending in a barrel. Surely they won't fire, you think? Surely they won't. And then a wave of bullets fly. They're aiming low, hitting the ground in front of the gorilla. That was a warning shot. If you don't... The miners who were running climb back into their pit pony, which is now gathering speed, trying to get away. Their comrades helping to pull them back in. Focus on the security rigs at the barricade. I can't remember what I chose last time, so I'm going to go 2. To keep your focus on the barricade, watching smoke curl from the barrels of the security rigs' guns. The pit pony trying to escape back to the main chamber is gathering speed now, but the miners in the cab are cowering, desperate to find some cover in the shallow bed of the rig. Then the Badger steps in, behind the pit pony. He splays out the arms of his rig and puts it into a low walk. It takes a few seconds for you to understand what he's doing. He's making a shield of himself, in case the security rig fires higher next time. Behind you, where the flanking security rigs are, the screech of metal and metal gets louder, and the barrier the gorilla watches, the fleeing pit pony in the state of shock and rage. Step forward to help the Badger protect the pit pony. The gorilla's on his own, man. The pit pony is a large rig. The utilitarian rig that the Badger is operating is not. And neither is your Theseus, but together you might be enough. You follow the Badger's example, bringing your rig alongside his to form a more effective barrier. He smiles over at you from his operator's chair. His forehead is lined with stress, wet with sweat, but a smile is warm and genuine. The pit pony is moving at speed now. You can't see much behind its bulk to the gap, just glimpses of the hare and the pup and the security rigs clashing, getting closer and closer. The pit pony is almost there, almost through, when it happens. The hare leans back, pushed by the security rigs, threatening to step back into the gap already only just wide enough. The pit pony has too much momentum to stop. The miners in the cab scream and yell as the hare's rig starts to loom over them. But with the burst of speed to overtake the pit pony, you're there. Your rig is a barrier against the hares, stopping them from stumbling into the path of danger for both them and the miners. You push against the hare, sending them crashing back into the security rigs, bringing you both out of the way of the pit pony as it steams through. A yell from the gorilla makes you turn to look back at the barricade. Cowards! The gorilla is still directly in front of the barricade, still just as far from safety as he was. His eyes are on the retreating pit pony. Then turning, he steps even closer toward the barrier and the security rigs behind it, letting loose an incoherent scream of rage. To use lethal force! Gorilla, please! It's only then that you notice the pony. He's piloting his rig toward the gorilla, away from the only route out, already nearly at the barricade. Pony, no! Gorilla, old friend, come away, run! Half of the security rigs at the barricade step forward, reaching out across the barrier to grab the pony and the gorilla. The other half are almost finished being reloaded. Surrender, now! Clawed rig hands close around the arm of the gorilla MK3 and the cab rail of the pony's Kaja. Hurry the fuck up! The gorilla pauses, and in the cab you can see his face turned down, cast in shadows, looking down at the hands holding him in place. He raises the free arm of his rig high, the bolter mechanism arm, a gigantic gleaming aggregation of metal. The grease on the cables and the inner workings flash in the light through their metal frame. And then he brings that arm down like a hammer, and the limbs of the security rigs holding him shatter. He's free, but his bolter is in tatters, cables and pistons twisted and severed. Brake fluid drips onto the ground, useless for work. He stays frozen for a moment, looking around, looking at the pup and the hare struggling and fighting, looking at the barrier and just how many scabs and security rigs fill the tunnel beyond it, at his own mangled arm. Then he turns to the badger. You sold us down the river, you bastard. We were never going to win this strike. Fuck. And suddenly he's running, heading for the way out, fleeing. He clips you as he passes, unbalancing the delicate bipedal Theseus. You topple over onto your side, and only hear as he continues on at pace down the tunnel and away. Your entire side feels like one big bruise. Seatbelts cut into your shoulder and waist painfully, and when you look back at the barricade, your view is sideways. The pony remains there, still caught. His rig strains against the grip, pulls against the security rig, but it is held fast. The operator inside chuckles as she shifts levers and adjusts power flows. The security rigs have finished being reloaded, and the scabs that have been removing hot shell casings from the arms and replacing them with cold bullets clear the way, and the rigs stand up to their full height. I use Theseus' arm to right, so I did number 2 before. Did I? I don't remember. We're gonna, I guess, write ourselves. I think I did number 1. Never mind. I do remember doing more. Theseus wasn't built to take any blows. It wasn't built to ever have to right itself. It wasn't built for conflict. It protests, rises slowly. Too slowly. The security rig raises their arms, gun barrels forward. The pony sits there in front of them, silhouetted by the lights of the company barricade. The chuckling woman holds him fast, moves out of the way to give her colleagues a clear shot. And then the arm holding him in place is broken. The badger drives his rig bodily between the chuckling woman and the pony, breaking her grip and shoving her back from the crumpling barrier in one violent move, making the scab standing behind her run to avoid from being crushed. As they flee, other scabs also start running, confused, streaming past the security rigs waiting to shoot, getting in the way of their aim. Go, go, go! The pony offers the badger a grateful look, revs his rig, and drives it toward the main chamber faster than you've ever seen it move. He passes you, and then he's through. You've only just managed to right yourself. The badger is approaching from the barricade, beckoning at you to run out first. Then the guns fire again, aiming higher. And that is the end of the demo. Thank you for playing our demo. So making different choices this time really didn't seem to change anything. Like I did make different choices. It didn't really impact much of the story as I could tell anyway so far. Might be different with a full game. Spend more time getting to know your fellow workers and the ramifications of the skirmish and the full game. Wishlist a line held tight on Steam now. And I'll be back soon with something, I promise.